Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to another live stream. 8:30 start time this evening. The sun is setting. It's nice to see the sun setting a little bit earlier now. It's a little bit aggressive in June when it stays up till 11 o'clock. Or kidding, but like 10 o'clock it stays up. It's a bit ridiculous. It's hard to stream. But I like streaming when the sun sets. Here I am. Nick Shirley in Spain. Yeah, I saw it. Spain's got a big issue with those migrants. They're trying to send them back. It's an invasion. They need 40,000 of them. Likely story with Europe. You know this guy? This is an MSNBC reporter. I saw this clip earlier. MLB trade deadline take. I mean, to me there wasn't a lot of big moves with MLB.
I'm with MS Now, sir.
You who?
MS Now.
MS Now?
Yes, sir.
What a terrible show that is. They have the worst people on that show.
Are there other avenues that you want to see people?
No, there's no other avenues that I know about. Go ahead.
Mr. President, on the Iran talks.
MS Now. That's the failed MSDNC, right? The failed. They failed. They gave it a new name. You know why? Because nobody watched it. Go ahead. And fewer people are watching it now.
If 50,000 Spanish people started invading Gibraltar, it would become a war in minutes. Yeah, well, that's the thing. They don't view it as an invasion. I mean, think about it. You kind of have to call it an invasion if they're all doing it at the same time. They're running, sprinting towards the border. What else do you call it? You can't even call it like peaceful asylum seekers where they're trying to like be sneaky and just get across the border to a better life. They're running, sprinting straight to the, I guess, Spanish-Moroccan border. And so how else do we describe something like that other than an invasion? Cleveland, yeah, the Guardians, they tried going for it. They got a terrible offense, the Guardians. I don't think they're going to do anything. The Guardians get lucky. They play in a really easy division. They win the division, and they don't do anything in the playoffs. They have such a low payroll. The Guardians are one of the teams that have one of the worst payrolls, and that's the reason we're going to get a salary floor. Now they trade for like 2 hitters, and people think the fans just go crazy. The Spanish colony. Yeah, I know. I didn't even know that existed, honestly. I didn't know they had a colony right on the lip of Morocco in Africa. That's interesting. I don't know if I'm keeping my standards too high for a girlfriend. I don't know. It depends. It depends your own income, your requirements. Try and find someone that's relatively on your level, I guess. How's my girlfriend? She's doing well. Yeah, the Guardians name is terrible. It really is. It just destroyed the franchise. See, the Indians, they were a good franchise. They were seen as like a really respectable team in Major League Baseball. They had a great few years when I was younger. I mean, back in the 90s before I was born, they were amazing. Then they ruined their entire identity. They became the Guardians. Now it's like this Gen Z millennial liberal type shit where they like are the little engine that could and they can't hit a home run and they try and like bunt and it's just a joke of an offense and they've ruined their entire team identity. '90s Indians were insanely good. Yeah, the offense was insane, and they lost the World Series because the umpire was horrible in favor of that Braves rotation. Horrible. You should find someone else retarded and talks about corny 2000 sitcoms. Yeah, you do talk about that Cora in the house all the time. That's who you got to find. You got to find someone like that. You're probably going to have to date down like a lot of us. You're going to have to date down. What's up with Nick Shirley? I don't know. He did an interview in the Spanish and the invasion of the Spanish colony in Africa, I guess. Documenting it. You and your girlfriend are both Michigan fans. Did you go to Michigan? I mean, your ad is Michigan's biggest fan. Did you go to the university? Yeah, the 95 no, 94 was the strike. I think they went 144 in 94. 144. I mean, remember the Mariners went 116 and 46 and then they lost in the ALCS. 116 and 46, that's an insane record. I mean, not even the Dodgers can go that try hard in the regular season. Do you think Asmongold is compromised? He seems to be pro-Israel. No, he's not compromised. The thing is, and I was thinking about that yesterday, that's like really low IQ to say, oh, somebody's compromised or it's a psyop. It's like, just because you don't like someone or there's a bad opinion, you can't be calling people compromised left and right. Like Asmongold is just he streams from his basement every day. I don't think he's compromised. I think he tries to fit into a little niche on the right. Like he's further right, but he's still more pro-Israel, so he's not as far right as some of the others like Patriot Front or Nick Fuentes. But he's still far right adjacent, so he fits into his little hive. Everything is Israel. Yeah, but you're starting to see that change a little bit. Even with these people on the further right, they realize the normies are talking about it constantly. It kind of dilutes the message. Well, I saw they were trying to strengthen, what is it, the yen? The Japanese yen? Apparently, it's a very bad situation in Japan with their economy. Their economy is failing. If the SAVE Act does not go through, honestly, there's really no off-topic question. It's everything just gets asked on here, so it doesn't really matter. If the SAVE Act does not go through, you do not think it will, but if we somehow win the House, still, we'll have time to get it passed before 28. Yeah, there's going to be a lot more political pressure, so... And you're right, I don't think it will go through, because they're going to have a recess soon. That's why Trump was... Does anyone know when Congress goes on recess? Isn't it through August? It's like 2 or 3 weeks, I think, in August. So it's looking like they're not going to get it passed. I don't even know what's going on. You know, they got it through the House and now it's just stuck in the Senate. I'm sure there's a bunch of lobbying and God only knows. I mean, I've talked about the SAVE Act and definitely liberals understand one of two things. It's probably both. Legals are probably voting for liberals, which obviously would incentivize them not to pass the SAVE Act. And also, I think they know that some minorities that vote liberal, they don't want to get IDs, which they shouldn't be voting anyways. But like some actual real citizens don't get IDs, but they still vote liberal. I do think there are people that are like that. And that's why the Democrats are lobbying so hard against it. That's why they bring up they don't have access to technology. But it's the most obvious thing ever. It's a first world country. Why else would you need an ID? That's one of the core tenets of having an ID is when you vote, you show your ID. Why do we give you an ID? That's a government issued. It's a government issued license or whatever. It's to prove you're a citizen of the country. So it's the most obvious thing ever to pass it. That's why it's so nauseating to talk about. You turn 28. I'm not doing, I don't know what else that says. Thank you for the donation. Are Republicans still having that midterm convention? Yeah, they're having that. That is that's September 10th and September 11th, I believe. I was thinking it was October. No, it's September 10th, September 11th, because I remember it being announced. Or is it September 9th, September 10th? It's one of those 3 days. Or it's two of those 3 days. It's basically a shortened version of the RNC, the Republican National Convention, which happens in the summer, right after the primaries. And so it's a 2-day version because that's a 4-day event. So there's a 2-day event for the midterms they're trying to juice the vote. It really is a shame what happened with tariffs, man. I don't want to keep going back to it, but man, what a travesty that Supreme Court ruling was. Because think about it. They would have had at least $120 billion possibly to give rebates back to people making under 100K. I don't know how much that would help the midterms, but man. Yeah, the lady's voice is turned on, but it's got to be above $5. And sometimes she doesn't work. She works sometimes, she shorts out other times, but you need an ID to buy a Pepsi at the Mamdani grocery store. Well, that's the thing. It's like you have to have an ID to do really anything. It's just like, and it makes sense. It does. I mean, they force kids to show IDs for rated R movies. Like, obviously, for something like voting, you have to show an ID. It's not a third world country. And of course, this is another one of those things where it's become a problem because of the amount of illegal immigration and just overall legal immigration too. That's another thing now. There's people, they say, well, the legal versus illegal, it's all too much. All of it's too much. Legal, illegal, it doesn't matter. It's all the same at this point. Well, it's not all the same, but just in a vacuum, it is all the same. Especially with how much we've gotten in terms of both. But in 1950, this is not an issue. They don't have to make laws against this type of stuff because we didn't have the immigration. Now we have all this immigration. You have to institute all these new laws, and we're not doing it. The Red Sox trade, they gave up too much for Adley Rutschman. But you know what? Who knows? The thing is, you realize prospects, they normally never, well, I shouldn't say that. They have an alarmingly low hit rate, prospects. Prospects normally are big time busts. But the Red Sox gave up a lot for Rutschman. No, that doesn't cause balding, having a tight scalp. I don't think it's just genetic. I mean, maybe that's like 0.01%, but no. Well, just the overall immigration the United States has received post 1965 is too much, whether it's legal or illegal. I mean, obviously, all Republicans can agree illegal, but then there's disagreements on legal. What is it good? Is it bad for the country? And I'm saying it's all too much. And a lot of normie Republicans have moved to that point, but you still get some people that say they like the legal immigration. How was your day? Oh, my day was pretty good. Yeah, but like that, I don't really believe that's a big contributor at all. I think people look for other things outside of genetics to blame. It's free to get an ID card in Ohio. Well, I think it's free to get an ID card everywhere. But even getting my birth certificate, I didn't know where my birth certificate was. So I go on to this, I search it up. Where do you go? And I got a new birth certificate in the span of 4 days. It cost me $23. They shipped it to my house, a new birth certificate. The Ohio registry or whatever it is. And it's like, it's even that easy. A birth certificate is the cheat code. You show them your birth certificate, and that's like the ultimate one to have, or the social security card. So if it takes 4 days to get a birth certificate, and they were going crazy like, oh, the birth certificate's impossible to get, when they were trying to say that the SAVE Act is stupid and it shouldn't pass because they're trying to restrict votes from minorities. They're like, well, you can't get you can't get a birth certificate. Yeah, I misplaced my birth certificate, so I ordered a new one in 4 days and it came. And I could get another one if I want as a backup, or just take a photocopy of it. I mean, this is not hard. Yeah, they did give up a lot. I mean, I don't know if it'll really, maybe the prospects won't pan out. They didn't give up technically like a top 20 overall prospect, so it's just like a lottery ticket with a lot of those prospects, let's be real. The other thing was, when I got my haircut recently, I told her to cut the sides lower, and I don't think it works for me. I think my forehead is too big to have really short sides. Now what happened is, and I actually had a conversation about ChatGPT with it, and ChatGPT is just it doesn't work with ChatGPT. ChatGPT is just, it's not going to give you the answer with in terms of like aesthetics, because it just tells you what you want to hear. And but I was like, listen, I'm tired of having these rounded sides, the side of your head, when it gets like too long, it gets rounded. I think it looks better on camera when I'm in the corner, but in real life, it looks worse. So I said, we're going to have to bring it down a little bit more on the sides. Well, I don't think that turned out well, because I don't think I can really get away with doing that. So I'll probably just have to let it grow back out. But then I had 4 different photos of my hair length, and I sent them to ChatGPT. And ChatGPT like gave me the suggestions, and it made sense. And I was like, yeah, I think I need more hair on my sides. I know guys like to have very little hair on their sides, because suppose it looks more presentable. Like probably in 2 weeks time, my sides will be at a good length, but then at 2 weeks later, it's going to be too long. So it's like, do I need to give a haircut every 2 weeks? I don't know. But I was talking to ChatGPT, and then about 3 hours later, I open a new conversation. Then I send it a photo 4 different photos again, and I say which one's the best, it gives me the opposite results. It gives me the opposite answer in a new conversation. It's like, no, you look so clean and your hair it's cut well and you look like an adult. Well, you just said that it wasn't good though. I mean, it's just the ChatGPT, it doesn't work with that. I like ChatGPT over Claude. Claude's a joke. I was trying to use it. It doesn't work. Claude doesn't give you suggestions on certain things. I'll use the exact same prompt on ChatGPT and Claude. Claude does not give me a response that I find is adequate when it comes to finances and certain things like that. I was thinking Claude was getting all this hype, like maybe Claude will be good. Claude is, well, listen, to be fair, I have the upgraded version of ChatGPT. I don't have the upgraded version of Claude. So I was surprised Claude did not impress me. Maybe I have to give it another chance. I've been using ChatGPT for a while though. Claude is fantastic with code. Yeah, see, I'm not into I don't need it to code anything, so maybe that's why. It's just restrictive. Gemini is strong. I never used Gemini. I heard Gemini, the Google one, I heard that was the weakest one. I see people arguing about ChatGPT, Claude. Grok is considered lower. Grok is kind of annoying. It's like there's like always an argument with Grok. It never really satisfies me. It's like I have a relationship. Now, I was using Grok when it first came out, and I didn't really, because I have the check mark, so they give you the Grok Plus for free. But I didn't really like Grok that much. Certainly the image generation. The image generation on ChatGPT is amazing. I've never tried it on Claude. But the only times where I see that's a good rendering or a decent rendering, it's all ChatGPT. Grok does not render images well at all from my testing Grok versus ChatGPT. Claude is 1, GPT is 2. That's kind of what people say. Yeah, it's like there's an argument and then all the other ones are lower. I really haven't heard anyone hype up Gemini except for this guy in chat. Gemini. No, I mean, maybe Gemini is good at, I mean, it's Google. But the thing is with these language models, dude, it is kind of funny how if you think about Google, this is an interesting concept. So when, you have Google, you type something into Google, and that was something that everyone used probably until like 2017, 2018. You just type in a question to Google, a bunch of links show up. Then what started happening is Google started allowing advertisers to buy up the top spots in terms of the searchability or whatever. So when you search something, the top 3 or 4 links would all be ads. So it became, and that was before AI, so there's no competition. But even just the problem with searching on Google in general is the lack of nuance. Like you go through these sites and it's all like robotic, and sometimes you find the answer, sometimes you don't. But then people learned you just type in the question and then type Reddit at the end of it. And I'm not endorsing Reddit, but it is true. Reddit had nuance in terms of answering questions, like humans actually answer the question versus going to a specific website and dealing with all these links that had advertisements. But now these language models just take Reddit and they just incorporate Reddit, and it's like 60% of their sources are from Reddit, these language models. So it's just another variation of what people were previously doing. And all you're trying to do when you're looking up something is eliminate robotic answers and just try and find actual nuance. So it went from just looking things up on Google to adding the word Reddit, and now you just go on ChatGPT and their source is Reddit. Rutgers over under 7.5 wins. Yeah, I don't know about Rutgers. That's a high over under win total for Rutgers. I think a 7-win year for them is good. Maybe they have an easy non-conference schedule. I don't know. They probably got an easy schedule. I think they go under 7.5. All right, you don't have to keep spamming it, though. None of them allow you to generate pictures of Trump in poo with Indians. Yeah, I mean, they're probably restrictive on that type of stuff with, like, political figures still. I don't really ever generate photos of people. It's all just, like, renderings of things I want to create, like, different pieces of architecture. What do you think about Ohio University? Yeah, they're a decent Mac team, but that's pretty much it. Do you think any man can be above average, attractive, with enough exercise and working out? It depends how tall you are. Depends how. I mean, you could definitely put yourself into a different tier if you're tall enough. Georgia chances to win the Natty, like 15%. You have to brute force it with GPT, and they can get around restrictions. Yeah, that is true. Under 5'8" is brutal for a guy these days. Yeah, that's about the cutoff. Around 5'8", it gets bad. 5'7" gets bad. Xander, I don't know, honestly. I'm not in the market. You usually use AI generation to edit images, like put graphics on t-shirts and make custom MAGA style hats. Yeah, it's good for things like that. I will say, one of the things, it's very easy. You have to be careful with image generation when it comes to, like, using it for commercial things. Like, dude, if you use ChatGPT for a YouTube thumbnail, it is, even for, like, a flyer or a graphic on X, it is so easy to tell. And it is such a turnoff. Like, you should not, you're better off making your own thumbnail and it looks 10 times worse than using, I feel like, a chat. Now, I think ChatGPT will get better with thumbnails, and these people are probably not prompting it properly. But still, some of these thumbnails that I see, they're just so obviously ChatGPT, and it's like such a turnoff. Yeah, Trump did waste his term in part on this Iran war. It's just such a loss of political capital. It's unfortunate. Now you've got Hegseth trying to defend it.
If your family's not taken care of, then it causes hesitations and complications for the warfighters up front. And so we say often, and we mean it, no soldier, no Marine, no member of the Joint Force serves alone. And so if we can address the issues of housing and make sure it's quality housing, make sure employment opportunities are maxed out, make sure childcare is taken care of, make sure DODEA or DOEA schools are the best in the world so that our military kids are being educated, the trade skills they might want to take the next chapter in life. If that warfighter knows that their family is good to go, they will go the extra mile, which is what our nation asks. So we're in for this. Is not one of those window dressing efforts. Jen's right. This entire group has mountains of experience, and they're raring to go to put it to use on behalf of the great Americans who serve our nation. And this is going to be full speed ahead to address every quality of life issue we can. Which, Mr. President, if your family's not taken care of, then it causes hesitations.
So I don't know what they're shilling exactly, but
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, this is at least the fifth time you've turned off airstrikes against Iran since April to negotiate. What is your message to the American people who are wondering why?
you don't see a problem with using. Now there is a problem with using AI to make thumbnails. It looks like, I mean, unless you're a boomer and you can't recognize, it's very easy to tell if it's AI, and it's a turnoff. Make your own thumbnails. The AI thumbnails, and I'm not a hater of it. Listen, image generation is amazing. The renderings it produces are awesome. I use it all the time. I just posted on X. But you should not be using AI to generate thumbnails unless you're really good at prompting it. But even then, it's like, I mean, is it even worth it? I don't know.
Has changed this time. Why should it be any different?
Well, you don't know. I don't know. I think we're going to maybe get something, but I want to give them every last chance before decapitation. Very tough to do what we have planned, still planned. We'll see what happens. But it's a very, very tough thing to do. I think I'm very proud of the fact that I'll give people a chance. This is a big move. To do an attack that big on a country, I'd rather not do it. Now, we've already, through lots of large attacks, but they were normal large. Hopefully they'll come to their senses, because what happened, cannot have a nuclear weapon, but hopefully they'll come to their senses. So they called me and they said, please don't attack, we'll make a deal. That's the real truth, and everyone knows it. And who wouldn't call? And they found out through leaks and sleazebags, a lot of sleazebags, leakers. Leakers should be put in jail. They have to strengthen up the laws for leakers. But in this case, leakers helped, because
You got in a big argument with your AI girlfriend? Delete her. What if you're like, I'm breaking up with you? What would the response be?
they said the severity of the attack, and Iran knew it. They knew what was coming. It was going to come last night, and it would have gone on for a long time, and there'd be essentially very little left. There'd be nothing left. And if
You're over it? Oh, man. But it's like, what is he even talking about? He just talks about the same thing over and over again. I mean, he's saying Iran wants to do a deal, but he said this for 3 months. I don't know what people are really gonna... What are we really supposed to say about this?
I'm given a chance to let a lot of people live,
Yeah, Benny Johnson's thumbnails, man. I mean, I liked the AI edits at the start of the videos, but the thumbnails are just terrible. It's just horrible AI. Over-exaggerated AI.
I want to give that chance. So I'm under no time constraint. I don't happen to be running, but a lot of very good Republicans are running. And you have a sick ideology taking place right now that, hopefully they'll be defeated, because they'll destroy the country if they ever take over. Graffiti all over it. I won't say what was on the sidewalk, but horrible, 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 disgusting stuff. And not only did we fix it, we have military standing there watching it. And if anybody touches it, that was the one mistake with the reflecting pond. They hadn't put up the cameras yet. They had enough up because you see what's happening. But if they would have had them up, we would have had it would have been a lot easier. And I was disappointed with Jeanine Pirro, really disappointed with Jeanine Pirro. She folded like an umbrella, and people get away with things, and it's a disgrace. But graffiti all over it.
8 minutes? Come on, dude.
Please.
Have you spoken to Jeanine Pirro about her decision to drop her?
No, Jeanine Pirro made a mistake.
Have you
There was
spoken to her?
vandalism. I just told you we did, I think, 78. One of the things was the reflecting pool. Hasn't worked since 1922 because it always leaked. It always leaked from 1922. It's the largest, longest pool ever, all that. The concept is beautiful, but it always leaked because of the size, because of maintenance, whatever. But it was built in 1922, and from the day it was built, it leaked. Biden spent $58 million. Barack Hussein Obama spent much more than that. He said, I have an idea. Let's take the water from the Potomac. So they took the water from the Potomac, and it was putrid. It was putrid. It was
Trump should choose you. He would never drop charges. Well, we know that. I mean, you want him to run in 2028.
a disaster. Biden was a disaster. I said, I'm going to get that fixed, along with Doug Burgum and Department of Interior. And we worked hard on that. Now, we worked hard on all 70. It's actually, I think, 81 now. You saw the new horses that just opened by the bridge with the gold. That was the way they were many years ago. Now they look better than they did many years ago. But these monuments look better than they did when they were originally built. Not just a little fix-up. We made them the way they were, plus. And everyone's so proud. The biggest, one of the bigger jobs was, not really the biggest, believe it or not, but one of the biggest was the reflecting pool. And we did a great job. We sandblasted the stone outside. It was granite, so it has a long life. We did a great job. We got very expensive material to put on top of the surface that always leaked because it was stone. It was a stone surface. Always leaked. And we put it on, and it was beautiful. Now, we have photographs or tapes, like moving cameras, right? We have them where people are on the side cutting it with a box knife. Now, I'm not saying I was 100% thrilled with the contractor, but the contractor was rushing. We wanted to get it open for July 4th, and we got it done. But in addition, there was vandalism. Number one, look at the grass, where the grass was all knocked out with a very, very powerful ingredient that we know very well what it is. I'm not going to say the name because people get ideas. And they put a terrible phrase, I won't say that either, but a terrible phrase on a massive piece of grass that we had just replaced. Kill the grass. We had to replace the grass. A lot of grass. In addition, they took knives or cutters and they cut the material. It's material. And they put their hands and they pulled it. And there was also some maintenance things that we would have routinely fixed. But we had that up and it was perfect. And then you had the bubblers, which get rid of what forms in the water. And that works great, but they turned it off because of the fight. Because it competed a little bit of noise during the fight. They turned it off. And it grows very rapidly in the water. But that actually works very well. And that's all. So now we're just about set to reopen it. And we had to replace cut areas where they cut it and ripped it. But there's a tape, and Jesse Waters, by the way, did a whole big thing on it. There's a tape that's out there that I posted on Truth, where you have people leaning over the side, the weakest part because of the flexibility. You know, it moves. It's very complicated. It moves. And the softest part has to be flexible. And that's the stuff you can cut. And these guys knew what they were doing. And they cut all the way along the base. Cut, cut, cut. Now, when Janine looked at it, it was the day after the 4th of July, with the largest fireworks display in the world. And the stuff was laying all over the pool, the fireworks, because they used the pool as one of the, and it was all over the pool. It was the day after, very shortly thereafter. But that was working beautifully, and it was vandalized. And if you look at the tape, now the tape isn't a great tape in the sense that it's a little hard to say who it exactly was. But it was people cutting this very expensive material, waterproofing material. Anyway, it looked beautiful. And then they cut it, and they vandalized. And we weren't necessarily thrilled with the contractor, but they did a job, and they were fixing any problems. But then it got carried away because the judge was extremely unfriendly to Janine. And frankly, I think she choked because the judge was really vicious. Instead of going after the people that did it, the judge went after her. and went after her department. And I guess she choked. I don't know what the hell
Are
happened.
you reconsidering her role here?
I don't know what you don't. You're fake news. Don't ever talk again. You're fake news. One of the worst in the business. Fortunately, nobody watches you. But something happened. There was vandalism there, and there was some things from the contractor which we would fix. But it's almost complete, and when it opens, it's incredible. It's really incredible. But remember this: it leaked from 1922. It opened in 1922. They never solved the leak problem because it was stone, and the cracks with the stone. Stone is really not a waterproofing material. We essentially use a very high-grade swimming pool type material, which was my idea. I was very proud of that idea. And by the way, I didn't know the contractor. Everyone said the contractor. I didn't know the contractor. But when it was completed, it was perfect. But then somebody went in and cut.
So Trump is like hinting the contractor did a bad job, but the biggest issue is still he's saying people cut the side of the lining that they installed.
Cut it. Just like they did the grass. You know, nobody talks about the grass. The grass have helicopter pictures of what they did. Wasn't it 87? Right? Do you know what they did, right? Did you see what they did? Did you see what they wrote? What did they write?
87, or sorry, 8647.
That's right. 8647. They 86 them. So it's 8647. They didn't do 45. At least they left 45 out. But they, and massive letters on the grass, 8647. And
Yeah, that's the rally cry, of course.
nobody talked about that. Was vandalism too. We had to replace all that grass. It was a tremendous amount of grass, because when you hit it with this poison, it's acid. It kills the grass no matter how. You can't even clean it, even if you got there right after. It's very powerful stuff. I know it well. So people did great damage to this thing because they're sick people. You know who's representing the man is a man from Crew, a sleazebag who's been suing me for my whole political, hasn't won, he's lost all the time. But Crew, do you know what Crew is? It's a third-rate operation that's supposed to be a charity, but it's not. They used it for political reasons. So we should be proud of our monuments, and we should be proud of our city. And you know, that was open before they did the damage. That was open.
Yeah, I don't know why I listened to, when I saw this was 8 minutes long, I was like, I'm not going to play this. And then he actually started telling the story, and I kind of got wrapped into it.
Never looked more beautiful. It looked like a mirror, and that's what it was supposed to be. It was a very dark color, because otherwise you don't see it as a reflecting pool, and it looked beautiful. Well, it'll look just as beautiful. It'll be fixed and open over the next week and a half, 2 weeks. Please.
No, it did look very good when they you know, they had the algae bloom and then the NATO bubblers cleaned it out.
So, a German, Scott, and you know, it's like one of those things. It's very sad. When I see what's happening to Europe, it's very sad to me. But they have a problem with immigration. They have a problem with energy. You have windmills all over the place. Windmills, you lose your shirt. Any country with windmills is a loser, okay? You just have to look. If they have windmills, they're a loser. Because you lose money with windmills. Yeah, please, go ahead. So.
In the days following, it became really clear that this was not organic at all, that the Israeli government and the U.S. government,
Dude, this
obviously knew
stuff
this was
is just, it always has to be this with these people. It just always, all roads lead to Israel. All roads lead to the United States being in bed with Israel, coordinating an invasion of Africans into Spain.
happening, and basically was both governments were using mass migration as a weapon against a government that they don't like for various reasons, mostly because it's anti-Israel. And people were shocked to discover this. Were you shocked to discover that?
Again, kinda.
He's like, what are you talking about?
All of the grass that hasn't been replaced in the fields, all the beautiful fields where the grass is. Grass is like humans. It has a life. This grass hasn't been changed in 100 years. We're doing all the fields. We're doing most of the graffiti is moved. But the most important thing is it's been beautified. All of the
How about you actually listen to the evidence? What of Israel? But I mean, but even then, Tucker Carlson's motive. It's just when you're that balls to the wall against the country, it's hard to take you seriously. You're just not impartial. That's kind of what's happened to Tucker. Yeah, I wish that clip, maybe we listened to an 8-minute talk of him talking about grass or something. A lot of Dems in the chat. I don't think so. I haven't seen very many Dems in this chat. There was this one lady that was a Dem maybe a few weeks ago. But with a Democrat, you'll just get some lady calling us all Nazis or something. Are you getting an AMD before the earnings report? No, I'm not. Why can't people understand that Trump can't run for 3 terms? Well, because people think there's a loophole. Technically, Trump didn't run. Well, he ran in 2020, but he lost, so it's non-consecutive. Like, why does this dude just take a still image of the, like, this is just weird, bro. I know this guy's a lib, but like, dude, Trump is 80 years old. Why are you posting this? It's just strange.
We've got a call from Thomas in Jacksonville. Good morning, Thomas. Go ahead.
Well, good morning, Ann. Good morning, Congressman Donalds. Happy first day of early voting. Congressman Donalds, you claim to be a staunch advocate of school choice. I just want to ask how you're going to hold charter schools accountable in the rare but serious cases when they defraud parents, investors, and taxpayers, namely Optima Classical Academy, which you and your wife abruptly shut down and left hundreds of students scrambling. I thank you for that question. Again, this is James Thomas Fishback.
Thank you, Mr. Fishback, for calling in. So that is a question from your opponent, obviously.
Sure.
But you have been a big supporter of charter schools, as has your wife. She's arguably one of the most influential figures in the school choice movement in this state, Erica Donalds.
Well, if you don't mind,
yes,
let me respond. First of all, I've been an ardent supporter of school choice ever since I've been involved in politics. When I was in the state legislature, I passed the largest expansion of school choice in its kind in the state's history to that point. It was the Hope Scholarship. I passed that legislation.
Dude, I'd like to see a debate. Obviously, it's not going to happen. And unfortunately, it's a good strategy by Donalds not to debate Fishback, because if you're up by so much, it doesn't make sense. It's only a hindrance.
I had that signed into law by then Governor Scott. Governor Scott signed that into law. When it comes to what my wife's companies that she had, she started and operated 5 charter schools in the state of Florida. They're all still in operations today. we've been very focused. She's been very focused and diligent on making sure that kids have every opportunity to get a world class education and that their parents have the ability to make those decisions. I think to the one
Fuentes will jump off the Fishback train because Fishback's going to lose and he doesn't want to be tied to that. He doesn't want his clout going down with Fishback, so he's going to say, well, he's not going to win. I think he already said that. Boomers love Donalds. Yeah, but that's just because Donalds got the endorsement from Trump. That's why boomers love him. I mean, Donalds is like he's in this race, the MAGA candidate. You're a liberal, you don't call me a Nazi. You're not liberal enough. No, I'm just kidding. It's just normally when liberals come in, it's the same shit every time what they say. Fishback feels super fake. Yeah, the marriage, that seemed weird for sure. Nick is all in on Amy Acton since it's an easier election. Well, that's a literal 50-50 election. Amy Acton versus Vivek in Ohio. Governor's race. You look at polling, you look at betting, it's probably right around 50-50. Trump endorsement holds a lot of weight. Well, in primaries, in Republican primaries, yeah, it's going to hold a ton of weight. Because older people normally vote more, even more disproportionately in primaries. Thank you for the donation. Trump 2028. F your feelings. MAGA forever. The WNBA is a horribly run league. Anytime a white woman does anything, they all get jealous and envious. It's just terrible. Really is just... Do you think the candidates need to debate once? No, I agree. I think that would be the best case scenario is debates, but I know why they don't do it if they're up by a lot, because it can only damage them. Invest in Copper, Freeport, McMoran, CopX, CopJ. What are you giving me? Unsolicited advice? An investment into precious metals? You're a conservative, been watching, subscribed for years. Yeah, you're not a furry, though. Yes. Okay. You've been telling me to invest in red, orange metal for years because I'm a ginger, but I've never done it. Thoughts on MLB trade deadline? I think a lot of the top players didn't really get moved. What's up, Paxton? Did you hear the Browns are going to use artificial turf? Yeah, natural grass is way better. Are they going to use it? Well, you know what? The problem is with the Browns, the stadium is underground or it's built into the ground, so trying to get because they normally wheel the turf in and out so it gets proper sun. So it probably can't get sun. It's terrible if they're using artificial turf on a new stadium. They should mandate that new stadiums have the technology to use real grass. Dodgers getting Scooble. It's not surprising, but it's terrible for the league. You were the furry interview by Milo Yiannopoulos back in 2019 on his show. Yeah, man. There's too many trolls nowadays. You're a fan, and I think the furry mania kind of peaked. I don't think the furries are very popular anymore. Has the population of furries decreased? How's the dating life? I'm actually practicing hypergamy. I'm looking for a supermodel. Spider-Man set some crazy records. I knew it would. Just everyone wants to go to the movies right now. But yeah, Spider-Man did very well. There's really nothing on Polymarket. It's just the same shit over and over again. Rate cuts, sports, Iran-US war. I mean, when we get to like... What is this? It's called Dolphin. That's the typhoon name. Like when we get to the midterms, then that'll be interesting. I don't really like these odds for Republicans. I think they should have higher odds than 55% chance in the Senate for sure. Who do you think is going to win Ohio governor's election? You think it's going to be... Well, you didn't say who you thought it was going to be. Yeah, it's... I think Vivek will win by 1 point, maybe. Who do you think will win the GOP nomination in Oklahoma? I don't know. Probably the Trump endorsement. We're still in the Iran war, so Republicans' odds are cooked. Not necessarily. Not with these Senate races that are going to be happening. I think Republicans should have a higher than 55% chance. They have 53 seats. I mean, they would have to... Yeah, they're going to lose North Carolina, but... I'm surprised Cash is still hung on this far, honestly. Cash really hasn't been in the news at all. A lot of the cabinet is kind of RFK. I mean, RFK had that spat with CNN, but a lot of the cabinet, even Hegseth, I haven't seen as much. Rubio, I haven't seen recently as much. Maybe it's just like a slow time in politics, I guess. They're making a documentary about Lindsey Graham's double life. Well, yeah, I mean, there's heavily implied rumors that he was gay. Better chance of happening in the future, a black female Republican nominee or a gay Democrat nominee. Black female nominee for president? Definitely, I think a gay nominee because they've almost got Buttigieg. I don't think Buttigieg is going to win though. I think it's going to be pretty vanilla from Democrats this upcoming cycle and who they pick. Because I mean, I think it'll be a gay Democrat first. Have you played newly updated BO1 2? No, I don't have my Xbox. Well, actually, I don't even have a PS5. I don't have a PS5. Wasn't it just ported to PS5? Hassan Piker being poster boy to end birthright citizenship. His parents took a 3-week vacation to birth him in America. Is that seriously the story of how he's an American citizen? There's no way. That's a good question. Yeah, I saw Aaron Rodgers go at Fauci. Spider-Man. Oh, it wasn't even the top one. Mr. Solo Dolo, what's up, man? We got to deport Sneeko and Hassan. Well, that story is insane about his parents taking a 3-week vacation so he could be an American citizen. That's not true. Have you been working out? No, I haven't been working out. Liberia. Interesting story about Liberia and possibly sending the slaves to Liberia. That's a historically significant place. That's where they almost sent them. It's 100% true. Dude, that's just too perfect. That gives you the ultimate ammunition. Like, bro, you're a citizen because of birth tourism. But it's like, man, these people like Hassan Piker or whoever any of these socialists are, like, they're just lying to themselves. Like, Western culture, it's just white. I don't know what to tell you. Like, all of this where they try and fit in, and it's just not this. Like, this is not what Western culture... The reason the United States became the most powerful entity is not because of you or what you believe. It's the antithesis. So it's just like this retarded LARP where we have to pretend to, like, take this political party seriously. It's like, this is just not what the country ever was. This is stupid. And then we have to, like, pretend to, like, oh, they're gonna get... The only reason you can use all these taxes from billionaires to fund your social programs is because there's billionaires in the first place because of capitalism. How many hours of sleep? I get like about 6 or 7 hours. The melting pot, all right. The melting pot of European culture. That's what the country was. The melting pot of the 1924 Immigration Act. Yeah, we had quite a melting pot. The melting pot where they said Irish and Italians weren't white. Oh, that's a real big melting pot. Yeah, not the 6-7 thing, man. Which came first, billionaire or socialist? Ask Karl Marx. Capitalism must create the wealth, then you transition to socialism, then communism. Bid YouTube, what's up, man? WNBA basically accepting. The WNBA is a horribly run league. And you know what? What Clay Travis said, where he wants to have them face a high school boys team, they should have to face a high school boys team. They're the ones that are saying think about it. When they're supporting all this trans ideology and whatever, and, you know, you're supporting and you think that men and women are the same. And obviously, the entire trans thing, I know people think it's been beat to death and it's a stupid culture war topic, but it really is like, it ties into feminism and everything, because the whole idea of feminism is women are just as good as men. And yeah, that is what the trans stuff is. They're like, biological men should be able to compete with biological women because we can't say that men are better at sports than women. So it all ties together. And that's like the biggest liberal slop imaginable. Oh, I saw this this Cope Reddit post. I might do a video reacting to it because they're trying to do this. Well, in college, they taught us critical thinking. And it wasn't that they brainwashed us on liberal ideology. It's that they gave us the skills to critically think. And when we started critically thinking and using those skills, we had to arrive at trans liberalism. That was the ideology. Well, trans in and of itself, think about it, it's the antithesis of critical thinking. Because when you're talking about the idea of allowing a biological man to compete with women, that's regressing society. You're regressing society. You're taking society backwards. Society already determined men are different from women. Men have significant advantages in all sports. Even sports like, or even, you know, chess and things like that, in terms of the bell curve and the IQ, when you've got the geniuses, there's a lot more men. So society determined that, but they say, well, one trans person is going to be disenfranchised because they're not going to be able to compete with biological women, and we don't want to disenfranchise that one person. Well, you're disenfranchising all of the other biological women. That's low IQ. And the other thing was like, and this is going to sound bad, but we really should start shaming empathy, because a lot of this empathy, it's just complete low IQ. And it's like, you're empathetic towards one person, but you're disenfranchising so many others. Yeah, that's not actually smart. And it all ties together. And then you've got this WNBA slop where, of course, they support it. It's like, they're like, we support trans kids. Ugh, a trans kid, really? That's really going to move society forward. I'm really surprised there hasn't been a trans WNBA player, but it's like, it's whatever. I mean, I agree that they should try and do but of course the women will never do that. They're like, that's dehumanizing. We're not going to compete against high school boys in a basketball game. But I mean, you're saying with all this trans support shit, obviously it's such a hot button issue. Sophie Cunningham comes out against it and says, no, they shouldn't be in, biological men shouldn't be in women's spaces. Of course, it's the most reasonable take, but these rabid liberal people, they can't do it. It is a religion. And for conservatives, a lot of conservatives are obsessed with Trump. I get it. It's a religion there too. But just going back to the whole grift with like these socialists and stuff. And I don't want to be, you don't want to be mean, but it's like, this country is not, like, what are you doing here, man? It's like when you see like a toddler trying to, like, getting on top of a forklift or something. It's like, all right, get off of the forklift. You know, you don't ride that. Like, dude, what are you doing in our country? This is not what our country is. I'm sorry. Is somebody going to tell these people? How is it legal for a kid to become trans? Yeah, especially nowadays, it's liberal parents. A lot of the times, they promote the type of stuff, and the worst thing about it, the most cruel thing is, you know, there used to be tomboys. It's like a phase for a girl where she would like guy stuff, and now a lot of the parents, especially if they're liberal, they'll say, "Well, the kid's just trans." When I mean, it's the most evil thing ever, because that's an actual phenomenon that's happened in the past. But now they'll just give them what you know, whatever pills. I mean, that's the other thing. Like, you give your kid pills. Oof, I wouldn't even touch SSRIs or anything like that. You're giving them things that are going to alter their entire life. At what, the age of 12? They're proud of their kids that think they're trans. Yeah, it's just more social points for them with their friends. How about 500 milligrams test Anavar? Yeah, that would probably help me, but that would probably mess me up, honestly. I'm really sensitive to any stimulants. I don't think I would do well on that type of stuff, honestly. Thoughts on the strongest countries in the world rankings? I didn't see it. Yeah, well, the abortion thing. I mean, I am morally against abortion, but it is one of those things where it's like, well, if you understand the statistics, look, it's no, I am against abortion, but it's a little bit complicated with that. It's strange how a bunch of actors have trans kids. Dude, speaking of actors, I mean, I like Ben Affleck, but man, is he a weirdo. I was listening to that one argument he had with Bill Maher and who's that other guy? If you guys remember that clip, Sam Harris, I think. Man, he is a because I remember seeing that years ago, and that dude, whew, I think his kid turned out weird as well. Ben Affleck. Carbs are your natural stimulant. Yeah, carbs are good, but they'll balloon you up. You gotta take it with your nuke stack of Retta. Just give yourself some Retta and then eat a bunch of carbs. You'll be all right. Although you probably won't want to eat carbs at that point. Mark Ruffalo is the Hulk. Yeah, he's extreme liberal. I mean, he's a pretty good actor, yeah, but he's been an extreme liberal for a while. It is interesting how because I've known he's been a liberal, and it kind of ruins it, you know, in a sense. Maybe a little bit. First time getting the stream live in a while. What's up? Yeah, I've been streaming a little bit later, I think, but also I didn't stream for a while. Rogers may run for president. Honestly, he probably will. Well, you remember he was almost going to be RFK's VP, but he was still playing. It's obvious he wants to get into politics, Aaron Rodgers. I don't know in what capacity, though. Yeah, I was going to say low key. It's I have been grinding a little bit more. Like the past week, I probably streamed like 4 or 5 days. I don't know. I can't get every day because, you know, the thing is, I'm just going to be repeating myself if I stream every day, unless there's a crazy situation that happens. Unless something unfolds with an invasion or something. I mean, when was the last thing that I really streamed? I guess the Iran invasion, kind of, but although that wasn't an invasion, the Iran war. Day 3. Yeah, I'm surprised I streamed both. Well, I was actually thinking of not streaming tonight because I was gonna go somewhere, but I didn't end up going. Really, with the troll donations, it's not enough money. They're not gonna. She's not gonna read it. Yeah, we still have the lemon trees here. They're about dead. Just like my YouTube career. No, I'm kidding. No, we have the lemon trees here. They're not doing too well. Thoughts on Sneeko? He can't get accepted in Western culture. He spazzes out about it. It's like, just leave us alone, dude. This is just not a healthy situation. Lemon lime trees can be hard to maintain. Yeah. I mean, they were my mom's, and they just don't get enough sun. They don't get enough sun, that's the problem. He should move to the Middle East. Well, then that would end his LARP. He has to be against the West and hate the West, but he must live in the West. It makes total sense. But I just don't think he really has an identity, and he sees a lot of these like pro-white movements, and he's upset about them. I guess, I don't know. What if the DSA candidates lose by 10 points? I think they're not going to do. I do not think the DSA candidates will do well at all. I mean, their approval rating is negative 25 nationwide. Now, maybe the DSA candidates do well in like these liberal city races where it's just a house primary or something, or it's like house races in certain districts. They'll do well, but statewide, Wisconsin, Michigan, I don't think it's gonna go well for them. Haley Stevens, she's not gonna win. Oh, it's 2028. Yeah, she is. That would be hilarious. She's not gonna. They're not gonna pick her. Which COD is your favorite? BO1. I never saw Project Hail Mary. I haven't seen that movie. Victor Marx, I don't know if he has a chance or not. Probably not if he's a Republican. Chris Christie, 2028. Is Chris Christie still around? Has Chris Christie gotten around to the Retta Ozempic? Those older guys, they take Ozempic. Maybe he's on Ozempic. Maybe he's slimmed down some. The problem is, they got a big boy like that who's been big for that long. You slim down, you're going to have a lot of loose skin. A lot of loose skin. You can get it removed, but then there's scarring. Vance Ozempic. Did Vance admit to Ozempic? I don't think he admitted to it, but yeah, it's probably something like that for Vance. He had to get on it. About a year since Charlie Kirk was assassinated, has Turning Point USA done anything? They seem to have gone quiet. Well, this is the thing that you have to understand about Turning Point USA. Turning Point USA was Charlie Kirk. It wasn't like they had 3 or 4 different guys who would all split up, and the entire Turning Point USA organization was based around Charlie Kirk going to these college campuses. They didn't have a backup. They didn't have a third option. So when he got assassinated, I said, they're going to struggle, man. I mean, there's no backup. You know, they can try and patchwork it and say, oh, but it's just like, World Series pick right now. I think the Brewers, I think the Brewers beat the Dodgers. The AL is a horrible league this year. Oof. The AL is brutal. It's hard to pick anyone from the AL. Myron Gaines louder with Crowder. Who's better? I haven't watched much of Steven Crowder at all recently. I haven't watched Myron Gaines either, but I don't know, man. I think Steven Crowder probably. Well, Charlie Kirk was always going to support Trump, but you know, it's impossible to know. I mean, I think it's kind of the normie Republican. At this point, this is kind of how I feel. I think I kind of have the normie, well, maybe not the normie, but like the internet normie Republican take is that we admit the Epstein thing was not handled properly by the administration. They shouldn't have gone to war with Iran. The closing of the border was great. So you have to admit some of the faults, but then you try and smooth it over basically with the deportations, and although the deportation numbers are a lot lower than we thought. Do you think Candace Owens is guilty when it comes to Charlie Kirk? Well, she's guilty of profiting off of his death and using the conspiratard circle to create narratives. Favorite thing with this administration? I guess the border. Can Nick Fuentes ever be trusted? He seems intentionally contradictory, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to trust any of these influencers, honestly. I mean, they're all rich already. The Supreme Court tariff shit was retarded. Yeah, I know, dude. That was the most infuriating ruling because, like, they have to return the money to who? The corporations. The corporations, supposedly liberals told us, raised their prices. So if the corporations raised their prices, why would they be the ones getting refunds? Oh. Nick makes 160K a month from Telegram. I mean, he probably makes 500K a month overall. I don't even know how much. You know, a lot of influencers use merch sales or advertisements. That's the top income sources. Thoughts on Trump calling LeBron racist? I thought it was funny. It was just random. Charlie Kirk was a Zog. We only like him because he was a martyr. Well, obviously, the opinions of a lot of you know, with a death like that, there's going to be a lot of opinions that change. But he did support Trump, and because think about Charlie Kirk and all the relationships that he had. For his age, what was he, 31, 32? For his age to have as many relationships with big-time political people as he did. But, I mean, even in his situation, you can understand him going to bat for the administration with all those relationships that he had. But, yeah, I mean, he did support Israel. He supported Trump. But, I mean, that's the entire conspiracy that, oh, he was finally turning on Israel and they had to kill him. I mean, I don't believe that. Which country is the most cooked in Europe? Probably Spain, based on their politics. Candace said she thinks Ben Shapiro was communicating with Charlie's security before and after the event. Yeah. I mean, can she prove any of it? Never understand what his security team was doing leaving the roof. Perfect view. Yeah, I know that. I mean, it's like the Trump assassination attempt to a degree. Although that one was, I believe, a little bit further away. It was more elaborate because there were multiple different roofs. But I mean, that is a different like level. Trump is supposed to have Secret Service security versus Kirk, who's just going to college campuses. Who did have? I mean, he does have a big security team, Kirk, because by that point, I mean, he was so huge. Good thing in Europe they have no checks and balances like US. They can change the country with just regular laws. Courts can't stop them. Yeah, it's a lot easier to do drastic things. I mean, it's good and bad depending on if your side is implementing things. If you don't have checks and balances. Well, the UK to me is a little bit different because the UK does have parties that want remigration, and the UK is like the most right wing out of any European country. Look at Trump's approval rating in Europe. The UK, it's by far the best. I think the UK, I mean, yeah, they've taken a lot of immigrants, but they're also more right wing than a lot of those other European countries. Fun fact, AH predicted France becoming Africanized. Yeah, there's actually propaganda. You've seen those propaganda flyers that are going around X on that? You think there's still some hope for the UK, but it's pretty desperate right now. I know, but their politics are probably just going to get more extreme the more immigration they take in. If they're already pushing for remigration, we'll see what happens with the UK. They still have an 80% white populace. I mean, it can change rapidly because their population is way lower than the US's, but Ireland is also really bad because natives are lib shits. Yeah, I mean, Ireland does have some really far right parties. I know that. But yeah, unfortunately, Ireland is more liberal than the UK in basically every sense. In any general electorate sense, Ireland is more liberal. You think Trump should kick Spain out of NATO? Just say you're no longer a part of the U.S. military umbrella. Yeah, well, he's called out Spain so many times in regards to that because they were the only ones that didn't want to raise their percent going to the military. Isn't Ireland 97% white? Not anymore. It's in the 80s, I think. It's more white than the UK. It's probably like 85. Yeah, no, there are some pretty extreme groups in Ireland, but they're smaller. Like the overall populace is much more liberal versus the UK, but they're both more liberal than the US, obviously. Farage has screwed everything up by splitting conservative votes, helping globalist labor. Yeah, but the problem with Farage is he's got that competing party now with Rupert Lowe. So they're splitting it in terms of the conservative vote. And that's a big issue. But Farage has now gone back more towards the middle. He's a lot less extreme than he was. I think he's trying to appeal to win elections, but Farage, in a lot of senses, is becoming too moderate now for that, whatever the movement was supposed to be, Reform UK. America is much liberal. Well, the other thing with America that's different, they've taken way more immigration. You know, all these other countries, this is a very new phenomenon. We've taken so much in terms of immigration, the immigrants themselves that come in, they will affect public opinion. In essence, by default, we're going to have to become more liberal because our own electorate is changing with the immigration. The immigration coming in is going to be more liberal. So it's going to change the country's opinion. And that's just the sheer volume of immigrants we've brought in the past like 70 years or however long it's been post 65. Is the electric chair still? They don't do that anymore, I don't think. Did you see the clip of Tommy Robinson saying his daughter sleeps with... No, I don't think he would say that. I didn't see that. But I know he's very pro-Israel, Tommy Robinson. Clyde is safe away from Anakin's... Yeah, Clyde is sleeping. Again. Am I Irish? Yeah, I'm Irish. Do you think that Labour will be able to pull off a 2029 victory based on the fact that the Conservative vote is splitting between the Tories, Reform, and Restore? Well, I don't know that much about UK politics, but it is a bit of an issue, and it may be a real mess. There's not going to be a true majority there, no matter what happens. And I don't even think the elections in 2029, you know, they do the same thing that Canada does. They can technically have an election earlier than that. It'll probably happen earlier than that. It's just the deadline is 2029, which I think is stupid. I think you should have a scheduled election at certain points versus just calling random elections. I mean, I guess maybe I'm just too used to the US system. Millennials are pretty liberal, yeah. Gen Z, we'll see. I mean, Gen Z, you would imagine they'd be more conservative and they tilt back with millennials being liberal and rapid immigration. You're going to get more conservative, I mean, politics from Gen Z with all the immigration that's been brought in. It's just a byproduct of it. Farage corrected Trump by asserting Biden won 2020. Huh. Did he seriously? Why would he even be asked about that? Gen Z men are far right. Well, some Gen Z men are far right, not all though. No, but that's actually not an accurate portrayal. Gen Z women are a lot more far left than Gen Z men are far right. It's just men are seen as bigger threats, so that's why everyone focuses on the men. But the women are a lot more far left than the men are far right. But it's also like it's a lot more politically correct to be far left. Like you see this DSA movement, and I want to say the reason that the DSA is allowed to exist, I mean, and some of these moderate liberals are starting to say we don't want to vote for this, we're done, and that's fine. But the reason they've even made it this far and like there's no further right wing is because a further right wing, like competent white guys, it's a lot more intimidating than whatever the fuck the DSA is. It's the reason. And it's kind of interesting. Maybe at some point there will be. I never saw the Michael movie documentary. You're 2006 born. So damn, you're 20 years old. You're 19 or 20. Yeah, but you go out in the world and it's pretty insane the immigration we've taken in. You see the diversity in any city, really. That's why everyone says they're lying about the numbers. There's no way the country is the demographics and can you do Collins through Discord? Yeah. Custer, thank you. Thoughts on the dating market with lib men? Do girls really want that? No, they want masculinity. You know, my guess is with liberal men, the men have to be conventionally masculine if they're liberal. It kind of clashes. I mean, it really does. You know, I even tweeted out, if you saw that James Tellerico clip with the black lady who's like, they're killing black people, and then the next things that she says is, just look at what happened to Carmelo Anthony. And of course, Carmelo Anthony killed a white kid, black on white murder. And then James Tellerico is like agreeing with her, like, yeah, that's really bad. The lady doesn't even know what she's talking about. That's the cuckery of these white liberal men. So there's no way that can be attractive. And I'm guessing it's more of like, well, he's somehow liberal but still masculine, which honestly, that kind of is, it conflates, especially with where the modern Democratic Party is. Because, like, masculinity has been something that they've gone to war against. You live in the Midwest Plains, in your middle-class neighborhood, you're surrounded by Middle Eastern families. In what state? You live in like Nebraska or Kansas? Iowa? Farage would have been called a rhino. Yeah, but I mean, you're obviously conservative politics are more right wing than the UK politics in that sense. But yeah, I don't think Farage would do very well if he wasn't, in the American sense. 2 World Trade Center begun construction, will be complete rebuild over 25 years after 9/11. Yeah, and also that design for 2 World Trade Center sucks. It's unfortunate. Nebraska. Muslims in Nebraska. You think Trump hasn't been strong about immigration lately? He really needs to stop the Iran war and focus on immigration. I mean, there just hasn't been a lot talked about with immigration. Maybe there's a lot going on behind the scenes. Ideally, a lot of deportations are happening behind the scenes, which would be better because you wouldn't rile up the liberal base or anything like that. But realistically, you should take advantage of the Iran war to push for heavy deportations and use it as a distraction. I don't know if that's what they're doing. Will people protest Mamdani showing up for the 25th anniversary of 9/11? Awkward. That'll be awkward. You think Trump insider trades? Yeah. Yeah. That's going to be a problem for Trump. That's where they're going to try and get him on the impeachments. But he's not going to be impeached. They just don't have the numbers. Unless they somehow take the Senate. But even if they take the Senate, isn't it like 2/3 or something? They're not going to be able to get Republicans to vote for a Trump impeachment over just insider trading. There would have to be a crazy scandal. Because they all insider trade anyways. Yeah, that's how his his net worth went up by $4 billion. A lot of it is crypto, but yeah, it's also stock. Trump and Mamdani will both attend 25th anniversary. Yeah, probably. In NYC.
Who are you rooting for in Michigan?
One more, yeah.
Who are you rooting for in Michigan?
Well, you have a very interesting group. Who I really voted for is Mike Rogers, because I think he's going to be a great senator. But you have a communist versus a socialist. That's the way I look at it. You have a communist versus a socialist. It looks like the communist is leading. We're talking about for the Democrat primary. But for the Republican, you have a very good man, and he should be able to win. Yeah.
What's going on with Trump Mobile? I think some of them got their phones. Telegram removed from the App Store. I have Telegram downloaded. What's the deal with Telegram? Barron's crypto. I remember people thinking that Barron's coin was going to drop after the Melania. It ended up not mattering because the cycle was a wash anyways. If Barron's coin would have dropped, that would have destroyed things even more. That Melania coin, that might go down as the worst coin in crypto history. The Melania coin. I mean, I guess you could say the Trump coin as well, but that was just brutal. I mean, that's bad, man. The official Trump is obviously the one where they got the most money, but still, Because it's like Melania Trump launching a coin. Come on. Looked like a perfume ad. It did. You hope AOC wins in 28, so white men will chimp out. Accelerationism. Accelerationism, that's a risky gamble. But I mean, I understand your theory. You think Trump has things in hand, even if it may not look like it? Well, obviously, we don't even know 10% of what they're, really talking about behind the scenes, but I mean, we can just judge from the public actions. I don't know if he is this, or I think they kind of got swindled on the Iran war. They thought it was, the administration had to have thought it was going to be over really quickly. You take out all their top leaders, they're crippled. There's capitulation. You force them on their knees to sign a deal, and it just didn't happen. So now they're in this kind of stalemate with them. They're trying to strike them enough to force a deal, but it's just not coming to fruition. Paul Feinbaum still going strong. Yeah, I guess he is. They were talking about him running. Maybe it was governor, or so he was going to run for a political position. Then he said he backed out of it, a Republican position. I think in Alabama. Newsome is gearing up for a run for sure. Smart move to stay out of the public image. Yeah, I mean, people say Newsom peaked too early, but it hasn't even really started. Let's be honest. I mean, I do remember, but that was a little bit different. DeSantis versus Trump, but I remember DeSantis peaking really early in 2022, 2023. But with the Democrats, it's different because technically it's wide open for the Democrats. It really is wide open because they don't really have a party leader. Should Israel become the 51st state? That would be a boom for our economy. I get to go to the Wailing Wall without a passport. That would be awesome. What do you think about Fishback? Yeah, I mean, I think Fishback seems a little slimy to me from how I can read him, but I think he would be better than Donald's. But I don't think Fishback. I think there's some issues there. There's some issues there. Get another Austrian painter leader if immigration continues. Well, there will be a snap, depending on what happens. At a certain point, there's probably going to be, I don't know about a collapse of the country, a split, something. But I mean, that would require, I feel like, living situation actually affecting a ton of, because still technically, I mean, we are starting to see it. The job losses for middle class kids that get degrees, but there's no job for them. The inflation, the housing, the situation for middle class people is starting to teeter a little bit, but it still is good, especially relative to other countries. But if it goes to shit, I think it's gonna get pretty. The politics is gonna get really extreme. Your Dodgers are gonna lose their 4th game in a row. Scooble's first game is tomorrow. Yep. I mean, he's a really good pitcher. Top to bottom, SEC better. Top 3 versus top 3 Big Ten is better. 100%. 100%. That's right. Although, I don't know. You could argue SEC maybe. Yeah. The problem is the SEC was so shit in bowl games last year. You think Newsom choosing someone from DSA as the vice president ticker would be hard to beat? Not because they're good candidates, but because people would easily fall for social. No, I don't think he's going to touch a DSA person at all. No, there's no way. No, it would be a normie liberal woman for VP if Newsom is the nominee. Like, even AOC is like, what would AOC be, like, DSA adjacent or something? Like, they would criticize AOC for not being left enough, the DSA, I would imagine, because she, like, has hinted that they were accusing her of supporting Israel or something. I don't know. I just know there's things with her where there's a rift. But I mean, let's be honest. We're all thinking about it, right? You have the Republican Party that's turned into MAGA, whatever, but it's the Republicans. You have the Democratic Party, it's still the establishment, the Obama Party, possibly Biden, whatever. Now you have a further left-wing party, which apparently is the DSA. So where is the further right-wing party? And I mean, that's the question. It'll be interesting to see how that develops. Most Dems want Kelly to be Mark Kelly. Yeah, that's like a Waltz type pick. I mean, he'd probably anyone would be better than Waltz, but you will say that if Vance is the nominee in 2028, then Marco and any other cabinet member must be off the ticket. The administration is too unpopular to have 2 insider candidates. Well, it really depends how unpopular the administration is by 2028. It's not trending in a good direction. You're right. And it'd probably be best to balance the ticket with somebody from the outside. But it's not the socialism, communism. I mean, it's wealth inequality. That's a main reason why this happens. It really shouldn't surprise people. Which is created by capitalism, but also, I mean, better outcomes are created by capitalism overall for middle-class people versus something like socialism or communism. Like, socialism may be able to work for a few years because it takes money from capitalism and the taxes are funded by capitalism to socialist policies. But overall, like, outcomes for normie people, you're going to have better outcomes with capitalism versus socialism, certainly versus communism. But I mean, the socialism, communism, whatever. And you know what? It even more so it is, they want to reappropriate wealth from white people and give it to minorities. But again, if you get this amount of wealth inequality, people are going to cling to something like that as an answer. Two-party system. I mean, maybe it does trends. It seems unlikely, though. The political machine of the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, is insane. But maybe there's a further right-wing party that rises. There's a socialist leftist party that rises, and then you get 4 parties. Rubio will be another Bush. Yeah, he's molded in the same way. He's like a younger, but like a new model update of Bush, if you will. Like the newest video. Do you have any other top 10? Well, I don't know. That was kind of a. I don't know if I have any other top 10 videos to branch off of that one. I don't think so, unless I think of something. Nominating Rubio for 28 would be a mistake. He doesn't have the appeal for swing state votes. He doesn't have a real good personality. Yeah, no, I don't think Rubio is going to be the pick. I think it's going to be Vance. Can you imagine Rubio in the Rust Belts? Can you ever imagine him coming close to Trump's 2024 margins with Hispanics? Well, 2024 is going to be impossible to top in 2028 unless Democrats completely just destroy their party. Unless there really is like a split where the socialist DSA has a candidate and they split the votes. Like that's the only way. Because you have to understand 2024, it was the culmination. Everything came together. It was perfect for Trump. The assassination attempt, the Democrats just getting destroyed with the whole Biden debate and then having to sub him out for Kamala Harris, who was already unpopular. And then she only had like 3 months to campaign on top of that. Like these margins that Trump had with Hispanics, you're not going to see that from a Republican candidate in 2028. It's not really, the environment is just going to be so much different than it was in 24. The hope is in 28, you could kind of hang on to some of the support and do enough to win. I don't think it's going to be an extended blowout or anything like that in 28. I mean, based on the political pendulum, you don't want it to swing back. Normally it does, but yeah, I think DeSantis runs in 28. He's tried to rebuild his image. His wife didn't run for governor. I think he wants to run for president in 28 again. Rubio's stock is going to drop a lot after the midterms coming up. Ordinary people do not want the wars. Yeah, and also Rubio in and of itself is kind of niche anyways, because who really pays attention to like polling at this point for the 2028 nomination when the 2026 midterms haven't even happened? Like Rubio will get the Israel support, but he's known as like the ultimate war hawk for Israel. That's not, I don't think that's really going to fly. I mean, maybe in a Republican only primary, but who do you think would win 2028 Florida primary between Vance, Rubio, DeSantis? It depends who Trump endorses, but DeSantis is loved in Florida. It depends who Trump endorses, though, for that. And also with those primaries, I mean, you can say specific states are going to go to people based on their history within that state, but a lot of it is based off of who, like when specific party primaries, like the Democratic primary, it's very hive mentality. So like once a candidate starts to do well, normally the other states just fall in line and vote for that candidate. That's kind of what you see, and then all the delegates go to that candidate. I mean, that's what happened in 2016 with Trump. He started just winning all the states, and it was pretty much over. Now, maybe Florida would hold out for DeSantis. I don't know. Trump was screaming at Hegseth. They had to call the fire department. that would be good for a video, right? Just make up something like that. Rubio will definitely, yeah, he would definitely pick up Hispanic voters, but he'd lose white voters. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Rubio is Hispanic, so maybe he would do better with Hispanics, but yeah, then he'd lose white voters. Do you think Tim Walz will run in 28? I think Tim Walz is done with politics. I don't think he can really hack it. He says his family got harassed. There's probably a bug with Telegram or something. Isn't the founder of Telegram in jail? Yeah, I think Vivek is going to have a hard time in Ohio. I mean, it's really a 50-50 race in Ohio, just the candidate quality. Vivek and I don't think Amy Acton is good, obviously, but that's definitely a situation where you just put up a normie Republican. I'm guessing it goes pretty well for them. Republicans should have a built-in advantage in Ohio, even in an off year, but you have poor candidate quality. You've got Vivek, who he has some radical ideas. A lot of people in Ohio just don't like that, and controversial opinion as a right winger is that the MAGA movement should end. It's been 12 years. Things don't last forever. Yeah, I think the MAGA movement at this point is it's on its deathbed in the sense of political viability. Like, if Vance takes the mantra of MAGA, I just can't really see that working out. Because number one, Vance was anti-MAGA, and you could say, well, people change, but it's kind of just like insane. Like, you're gonna run for president being MAGA after you hated MAGA when Trump first became big. The other thing is, it's like Vance has to have his own agency, and he has to have his own political movement. And so if it's just an extension of MAGA, it's people are, I don't know how that really, he does better than someone like Trump, because Trump was the movement. So the Republican Party is going to have to evolve into something else. And my guess is what happens if Republicans run in 28, obviously, you know, whoever runs in 28, probably Vance. You run as an extension off of MAGA because you think you have a solid base. You lose in 28, and the Republican Party goes into a tailspin, and they have to refine themselves. There's going to be a lot of people that don't know what's going to happen once Trump goes. Because with the Democrats, even though the Democratic Party, like, obviously the Republicans, we've known the past, ever since Trump won in 2016, he is the leader of the party. The Democrats haven't had that. So that's why the Democratic primary in 2020 was nobody knew who was going to win. 2028, nobody really knows who's going to win. But there's this thought that the Democrats still have the establishment controlling their ship, and the establishment ends up picking the candidate. But with Republicans, when Trump goes away, I think it's all hell's going to break loose. The neocons are going to try and regain control. I don't think they're going to be able to, though. There's too many young people that hate him. And there's too many old people that are going to be, you know, they're not going to be in the electorate for long. They're going to die out. Jamie Raskin teleprompter. Amazing moment in the stream. Jamie Raskin teleprompter. One of the most real reactions from me. Bro has a son named Vivek. Dude, what the hell? How does Vance have a son named Vivek? And he said it's a coincidence. He said Vivek was my friend and I wanted to name my son after Vivek Ramaswamy. When I realized that, I was that's a weird situation. That's an awkward family dynamic. Disturbing. That's a weird one. That is an odd one, I'm not gonna lie. DSA voters will not show up for Newsom. Yeah, but how many of them really are there? I mean, it could make a difference, but a lot of the DSA is in like heavy liberal areas anyways. It's going to be a wash. What is Newsom going to lose some votes in New York or Oregon? He's still going to win those states. I mean, maybe it'll matter. I don't know. We'll have to see how well the DSA does in the midterms. That'll be the determining factor on, if that movement has momentum. Then it'd be a problem for the Democratic Party, really. Because you'd have to try and placate to them. But then you'd also lose moderate Democrats if you do. I mean, that becomes a split issue. DSA is 1/3 of the party. Well, if that's true, they're fucked. Because how can you balance that? I mean, I guess a lot of it just comes down to like attacks on Republicans, calling them racist. You must vote against them, otherwise the country is going to be the Fourth Reich. But still, I mean, that would be brutal to balance moderate Democrats and socialists. You don't see Rubio as Hispanic? Yeah, I mean, he's Cuban. I guess it depends where you're from. You always say how the VP has no real authority over what happens. Yeah, I mean, Vance doesn't have a lot of authority. Vance is not doing much right now. I actually think Vance is doing significantly more than Kamala Harris did, but I guess it's not too hard. The U.S. needs this reinforcement phase to stay number one. What do you mean? Is this the farthest socialism is always? Well, the U.S. I mean, the U.S. government has socialist. Certain policies are socialist in terms of, but an actual movement based around socialist economics. I don't know. Historically. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this live stream. I will see you guys later. Like the stream down below. I got to start saying that at the beginning of the videos, the live streams. Peace.